over the years and bumping into people, Skynyrd fans and stuff, and a lot of people ask me this specific questions that they'll ask, a lot of them about Coach Leonard Skinner, and how did he come about, and how did the band come up with the name, and how was Lynyrd as a teacher? I don't know, because I didn't get to Lee High School. I was at junior high. Lakeshore Junior High is the last year I went to school there at Lakeshore. I failed a couple times early on, and actually the hardest 3 years of my life was the third grade. Oh my God, I didn't think I'd ever get out of the third grade. But Lynyrd was by the book, coach and teacher. And they went through, when they first started rehearsing, several names. I think the first one was My Backyard, one Conquer the Worm, the Pretty Ones, the 1%, and they were the 1% right before they changed the name to Lynyrd Skynyrd. And they were talking about changing the name. And as far as I can recollect, my memory goes, they were talking about a name, and so they were out and rehearsing or whatever, and they'd been drinking some Budweiser, and a song back then, I can't remember what year it was, came on, and it was called Camp Granada. And in that song was a lyric that, last night Lynyrd Skynyrd got ptomaine poisoning after dinner. And they heard that lyric, Bob Burns especially, I'll give Gary, Bob, whoever, all of us, and they went, man, oh, that's Lynyrd Skynyrd. You know, Lynyrd Skynyrd got ptomaine poisoning last night after dinner, and that lyric. So they went, you know, so that's how they came about changing the name to Coach Leonard Skinner, and they changed the spelling of it to L-Y-N-Y-R-D, S-K-Y-N-Y-R-D, to change the spelling from Leonard's name, but that's who they named it. That band came up from Coach Leonard Skinner. He wasn't my coach. I never got to high school. That was Ronnie and Gary, Larry Johnstrom, and the other boys that got to high school. I never made it to high school. And Coach Skinner was a gym teacher, plus he was a history teacher, and he was a history buff. At the same time he was a coach, he was a history teacher at Robert E. Lee High School. Can't remember where he was at before that. And Lynyrd came there about 1965-ish, and actually Ronnie left there in 66. He got Nadine pregnant and left in 66 and went to work for his brother-in-law, Bill Morris, Auto Parts, and had to leave high school. But Coach Leonard Skinner was their coach, and Gary Rossington was the one that Coach Leonard Skinner really got on about his hair. And back then, and Coach was a redneck, by the book kind of guy, Coach. And you had to have your hair had to be 2 inches above your collar. You had to wear socks. Shirt tails had to be tucked in, stuff like that. And Gary, with his long hair, and trimmed it a couple times, but Coach got on his ass many times. I actually made him wear a hairnet a couple times about Gary's hair. But Gary Rossington was the one that Coach really got after. Well, there was school policy, and Lynyrd was kind of a by-the-book kind of guy, either in history, teaching. Of course, I never got to school. I can't say how he actually taught the history, but I knew him personally. I knew what kind of guy he was, and he was by the book. And if Gary didn't do according to the plan, the actual school policy, and it may have been Duval County school policy, to live up to that policy. And Lynyrd made him live up to it to the best that he could, and made Gary, you know, like I said, wear a hairpiece and keep his hair trimmed, and stayed on his butt. Well, I probably know some stories, but you know, a lot of stuff. After the plane crash, I lost a lot of memory and stuff. He wasn't out after any one individual. He was just out for the individuals to play by the rules and to do it by the book. He was a kind of guy by the book teacher and by the book coach, you know. And Gary was the main one that he stayed on. Gary wanted to defy him, you know, and Leonard didn't. He played it by the book. You did it his way.
You don't happen to recall any specific incidents of Gary kind of messing with him?
Well, no, because you mess with him, he just said, go down to the dean's office, you know, and, but, you know, I'll bring this up. They don't do this now, but back then, they had paddles. I'm talking about 18, 24, 25 inch long paddles, thick 3/4 inch wood paddles. They would actually paddle you if you got out of line in school, all the way up to junior high school. You know, what the old guy's name? He had a big old monster arm. He was a huge principal. I can't remember his name now, but boy, when he laid into you, he'd lift you off the floor. And I just laugh. I got several of them. I ain't counting them, but you know, they hurt, son. They sting. Boy, they would, you know, they should bring that back today. You know, instead of it being a paddle, it'd be a baseball bat. Just bam, you know, just knock some sense into these kids. The principal back then was Mr. Johnson at Lake Shore. Man, he had monster arms, and when he hit you with that paddle, boy, I'm telling you what, pow, man, oh yeah. A lot of people didn't want to mess up because they didn't want to get that, but you know, some of us guys, it was, you know, just had to do it.